Martin Truex Jr. announced his retirement from full-time competition last month, effective at the end of the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season. However, the decision had been a long time coming. But it's not a farewell for Truex Jr. as he and Dale Jr. have leaked some interesting things that are awaiting for Truex Jr. in the future. Could we see the former champion return even though he only just announced his retirement? Would you even like to see Truex Jr. returning on multiple occasions throughout the year? Let's dive into the leaked details. On the most recent edition of the Dale Jr. Download, Truex Jr. explained what kept him coming back to the Cup Series year after year, despite the fact that many people expected him to retire several times over the previous few seasons. Evidently, it was merely a passion of competition and a desire to win. I don't know, just the desire to compete, wanting to win more races, wanting to have another shot at a championship, Truex Jr. told Dale Earnhardt Jr. I don't know exactly what the difference was, it's just like, okay, I'm okay now. I don't know, I feel good about stepping back and it just felt like the right time. I don't know, I kind of simplified my life. I've got things in order. Been working hard on that. Just to have my future set to where I'm comfortable. And I'm happy, and I'm doing the things I want to do. And yeah, I don't know exactly. There wasn't like a day I woke up and I was like, alright, I'm done and these are the 10 reasons. I didn't make a list and check off pros and cons or anything. I just waited until I felt like it was the right time. And yeah, here we are. While Truex Jr. did not have a eureka moment when he realized it was time to retire, the schedule required for full-time Cup Series racing was just wearing on him, and he was ready for a change. I still enjoy driving, obviously, so I want to keep doing that some. Hopefully I can make it work out where it stays fun, and I feel like I can go win still, which I feel like that shouldn't be a problem. I just want to get off. Tired of running on that hamster wheel, you know? Wide open, every day, all day, every week. Just the scheduling and the traveling is just something I need a break from, the former NASCAR champion stated. But otherwise, I still like to race. Martin Truex Jr. plans to compete in a few races next season, including the Daytona 500 in the Cup Series. Maybe that will fulfill his need. Regardless, fans will enjoy the last few months of his full-time driving career over the remainder of the 2024 season. Martin Truex Jr. also took time to acknowledge that Bass Pro Shops sponsorship helped him become a successful NASCAR Cup Series racer. Truex discussed his connection with the firm and its creator, owner, and CEO, Johnny Morris, as without the sponsorship Truex Jr. would have been gone a long time ago. I definitely feel like the luckiest guy in the world to be partnered with someone like that is just such a genuine friend and their family and just what they have meant to my career, according to Truex. Every time I needed something or something was changing, they always stood behind me. I've told Johnny and he doesn't really like to take too much credit for it, of course, but there's no way I would ever win a championship I don't think without his support. When I went to drive the Napa car, he was fully supportive of that and the opportunity, and he still wanted to be an associate sponsor. He was on that car. And then at Furniture Row, we were struggling and Barney Visser was probably going to pull the plug. Johnny stepped up and sponsored that car. We won a championship. Truex added, Johnny took such a big chance on me back starting in 03/04 season when I came down to drive for Earnhardt, and you put all that together. I feel lucky to have that partnership. But how lucky is it to just do something you love, hunting and fishing, and be authentic talking about Bass Pro Shops, and going to do whatever you have to do with them? Truex just announced his retirement, making 2024 his final season as a full-time Cup Series racer. In 657 Cup Series races, the 43-year-old has 288 top 10 finishes and 34 wins. And as Truex mentioned, he won the Cup Series championship in 2017 while driving for Furniture Row Racing. He has driven for Joe Gibbs Racing for the past 6 seasons. Martin Truex Jr. may look back on his NASCAR Cup Series career with pride, but his route to becoming a champion and potential Hall of Fame entrant was anything from straight. On the podcast, he also discussed his career's twists and turns and how he became one of the finest drivers of his time. You've talked about your career. I wanted to discuss that a little bit, Earnhardt Jr. prefaced. I can't think of another situation that's kind of like yours, where it's almost two halves. I don't know how you feel about it, but basically, when the public looks at your career, there's this Martin Truex Jr. that we all thought we knew. And then there's this second half of your career, where you were the best, one of the best, if not the best, driver in the series, in terms of championship 4 appearances, championships, wins, and all of the success that you had. It's a hell of a story, because it almost wasn't to be, right? How close, I guess? How close was it? There was a moment where you lost the deal with... The Napa thing fell apart. You've talked about Barney almost pulling the plug at one point. Take us back to those moments when you weren't really sure where your career was going to go. Speaking with the man who helped him get his start in NASCAR, Truex Jr. discussed some of his career highlights, including his time at DEI, his success at Michael Waltrip Racing under the Napa banner before losing that sponsorship, and his switch to Furniture Row Racing, which changed everything. Well, yeah, there was actually more than that, even going back to, DEI, and when you left and when things started to kind of unravel. We joined with Ganassi, and it was the num1 car and the No 42 car. That was kind of ugly too, that wasn't much fun, and things were going really bad. But the Napa deal there, it was so late in the year, that was probably the scariest point in time, Truex Jr. explained. I remember just thinking there's a chance that I don't have a job next year, and we had won a race that year and made the playoffs for a couple of hours at least. But yeah, that was probably the toughest moment, I guess, was just not knowing. Things kind of came together pretty quickly, but still at that point I'm like, okay, I'm going to a team that doesn't really have a good track record. They've won a race and they were running. 2013, they ran pretty good with Kurt. They were starting to kind of show up at the front occasionally. But yeah, I didn't see the future going the way it was going to go. Went from not sure I'd have a job to 2 years later, winning our first race together. And the next couple of years were just ridiculous, Storybook. In the end, Martin Truex Jr. had a NASCAR Cup Series career worthy of a movie. We'll see if he can cap his chapter with the perfect ending, a title in Phoenix in November 2024. If not, we'll probably still see him a couple of times a year on the track on one-off appearances. What your thoughts on Truex Jr. leaving the full-time gig? Are you sad to see him go, or has he achieved everything he could have achieved? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Next to all this talk about Truex Jr., Dale Earnhardt Jr. also dived on one of NASCAR's biggest subject at the moment and has confirmed if Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin have a feud brewing. The Cup Series tandem has been hesitant to refer to their feud as a rivalry, but after another incident in Nashville fueled their animosity, Earnhardt Jr. revealed that regardless of what Larson and Hamlin say, he is establishing them as rivals going forward. Hamlin and Larson, there was a debate on Denny's show about it being a rivalry. This debate has been going on for 2 weeks. Last week, Denny said it was not a rivalry. This week, he slipped up and said it was. So I think it's a rivalry. It's been a rivalry since way back in Pocono, when Larson ended up in the fence there. It's been a rivalry, Earnhardt Jr. said. Drivers that are in rivalries aren't the ones to ask about it being a rivalry. It's our choice. It's the public's choice, whether it's a rivalry or not. We decide that. That stuff happens organically, and it's happened. It is happening. Denny and Larson, they are rivals. Even if Larson and Hamlin won't admit it, Earnhardt Jr. feels they're unconsciously battling more than ever, keeping track of who wins week after week. I think Larson said that really well, but anytime they're racing around each other and there's something on the line, if it's in the middle of the stage and they're battling for fifth, they race each other really well. It's these moments, which happen quite often, because they're both very talented, and they're both in great race cars. It's these moments when it boils down to the end of the stage, or there's something on the line and there's a couple few corners or a few laps to go when one takes advantage of the other, Earnhardt Jr. added. They've both done it, and it's great for us. I hope it continues, especially now, with them talking about it, and they, maybe even unconsciously, start keeping score, and nobody wants to lose a battle. So I think Hamlin and Larson, anytime they can duke it out and get aggressive with each other on the racetrack and use each other up and piss each other off, it's a good thing for all of us. Unfortunately, Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin's numerous spats can only be described as a rivalry, which Dale Earnhardt Jr. acknowledges. We'll see when the next chapter in their feud is written, which may happen as soon as this weekend, when NASCAR travels to Chicago for what promises to be an exciting event. What do you think? Is it a real rivalry right now? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.